Well, hi folks, and welcome to Noise with Ivan. I find it important that I mention to you that Bandcamp Friday, for the first time in some time, is coming about. Please buy CDs at noneoftheflesh.bandcamp.com. We will have the Asmodexia BizCard CDR. We will have the Man Hates God standard CDR. It will be Man Hates God in Handwritten Letters and Portraits of Cain will all be coming out on CDR. Man Hates God and Handwritten Letters are 2-disc sets. They include an insert explaining the releases because they do need some explanation, I feel. Those are ready. We're going above and beyond here at notoftheflesh.bandcamp.com. As far as Not of the Flesh releases go, I have never put little letters in them. I have never really done 2-disc sets. So that's quite the expanse happening, and we're looking to do even more. Eventually, there is also just plenty. There's plenty of noise releases, power electronics releases, ambient, dark ambient, and you name it, noise walls. We got it at notoftheflesh.bandcamp.com. There's plenty available. I might go through some things that we have available before that happens. But let's get into Noise with Ivan. Go ahead and roll the intro. I actually have a couple of things to show. I started the video without the discs, but I said, well, let me go get the disc. This is the Portraits of Cain reissue. We did skulls instead of the or I did skulls for the physical version instead of the faces, and of course you can see that it is entitled the Handwritten Letters Trilogy, not like it was when I released them. 21, 22, 23 pretty much is Portraits of Cain, Man Hates God, and Handwritten Letters. These are all out of 5 copies. Released on Militant Liturgy digitally. They're on my regular Bandcamp page, Ivan Reish. Bandcamp.com, and as you can see, this is a fat boy because the CD is just sticking out the side. Man Hates God will also be like this, which I didn't bring a version of, but they've got it's a 2-disc set, and then the little pamphlet inside with the explanation. When I first put this on CD, I had a letter that I'd written, and I kind of compressed it so that I can put it on its own. Into 3 columns instead of the 2 columns that it was originally set up as. And then, of course, the track listings. I've been writing one for Man Hates God. I don't really know what to do with it. Well, I know where I want to go with it, but I want to think about it more. But I've got most of it written. Anyway, so also I did a double feature. I had done a double feature of the 2 Drop Hammer releases that we had on Gates of Hypnos. And I decided to do that with Hailing Her Heavens and His Haunting Humming because this was a fairly croppable cover, and I could put all the information right here and then just do this on the other side. So we've been kind of doing double albums on CD just so we don't have to use as many up. This is another one of these 5-copy releases. So if you want any of those, get them because they're only out of 5. And generally speaking, we don't sell more than 5, so it's kind of nice and freeing to say I'm only going to do 5 copies of this release when it's my release or Tremo's release. Really nice to be able to say we're only going to do 5 and then move on and be able to do as many projects as we want, because it's kind of nice. Like, this is a low budget kind of thing, so we want to do as much as possible. Don't necessarily, I had mentioned Tantric Bile Befoulment when I was going through my 5-inch CDRs on the channel. I didn't remember this, and it's not on a label that I'm really familiar with, Putrefactive Recordings. But what's really interesting is that we have voice, piano, winds, drums, and guitar. So this is like a gore noise release, and I think it is understood to be so, as opposed to having gurgles or kind of run-of-the-mill gore noises, or even traditional kind of harsh noise combined with a little bit of a grindcore kind of thing. This has that jazz avant-garde feel to it. It has piano and wind instruments and drums, creating a whole different atmosphere. And I'm sure that there are more releases like that, but if you're like a Gedalia Tazartez guy, but you're also like a grindcore guy, that's like both of those, you know. It's a really solid way to do it. I'm a big fan of Charles Hoffman. He was in bands back in the day. He's one of the older guys with a lot of experience that does make noise in the community. He has a split with Kubatu Asparagus under, I don't remember which moniker, but he has several monikers, and I grabbed his full discography. And this is a release that was originally on cassette. I did something, it's not illegal, but it doesn't, I don't know how I feel about sharing it. I put it on CD for myself, Teen Lust. This was one of my favorite things that I came across in my library, you know, because when you're going through your Bandcamp library, all the things that you've picked up along the way, some of the artists whom you've grabbed full discographies from show up, and you know, you've got so much, when you're buying full discographies and getting things for free, things come up like they came out of nowhere. Things are completely new to you. But he had reached out to me through Shromo, told me that he was looking to email me, and we talked a little bit, and I got into we talked about doing a release with him, and he may have even been okay with doing a release, but this is indie music. This is, I would attribute to the microphones. It sounds a lot like this. This was originally released on cassette, and I can tell you that if you do buy this, he has a very cheap full discography on Bandcamp. So Charles Hoffman, he has a lot of monikers, so I'll leave a link to his Bandcamp in the description. But this was a standout release, all by himself. You know, drums and bass and guitar, and he really weaves those instruments in together. And you can tell when the guitar, when that he's composing guitar and then composing bass. When you spend time thinking about what the bass line's going to be, when you practice and play along with the guitar tracks, it makes you think about it a lot less minimalistically. And if you're a bass player playing for someone else, you know, just kind of doing a gig, it's going to be easy. Or if you just say, oh, this needs some bass when you're recording it, it's going to be easy to minimize what the bass is going to be. And that's the case for all the instruments on here. It's really well put together, and it's impressive that he had something that he wanted to make and just did it all himself. You know, it's a really fantastic record, especially when you're sifting through, you know, a lot of noise releases and things like that. It stands out heavily. Another one of I'm going away fairly from the indie pop theme that I started with. I should mention Zenith. Zenith is how I would say it. The Early Years was a compilation from them with the early stuff from 22 and 23, and it had a CD release, so I didn't make my own bootleg. If there was one available, I didn't want to make like a little bootleg, but it just seemed like a good way to take the things on my Bandcamp discography and condense some of my favorite projects and put them into the CDR collection. Maybe I got a little bit excited about it while I was recording episodes about the collection. And I don't know, the collection, it's just that I have, you know, collected and sold some stuff off and collected again. And I just feel that releasing CDRs and collecting CDRs is my thing to do. So if I can take something that I have online and put it on a CDR and then I own it, and then put it into my collection just to kind of concentrate the digital collection and say everything that I own or my collection, the things that I listen to, is going to be CDRs. It would be nice to saturate it to just one thing, desaturate it to just one thing, as opposed to having vinyl everywhere and having cassettes everywhere. Those things are too big. They take too much space. I want to listen to a lot of stuff. I do listen to a lot of stuff. I don't have a warehouse to fill up with albums. I don't have money for that either. Same thing with Military Position, Kind Like Girl, Sleepy Kitty, and Jim Day Upholsterer. I put all three of these on here. I did the same thing with Heel Tactics, by the Dirty Heels, and the Joyce Foundation, Passed Out But With Sleeping. This was literally 3 minutes long. It was really cool. It was kind of like a post-rock kind of thing, a shoegaze type of thing. maybe post-punk. The Joyce Foundation was, but this is where the real heat was. I just figured I'd add, because this was short itself, I figured I'd add another short release to it. These are from Brown Bear Recordings, which is one of my favorite labels as well, and Distant Trains kind of made me think of it. There's something that Brown Bear Records has, and they still have quite a few. These weren't them, but they still have quite a few CDs available, Jake Country and a lot of artists, but it has a folk feel. It has a very almost like outside the city, suburban feel to it. It's like amateur indie and rock music. There's something to it. There's something to just the label itself, Brown Bear Records. I've been a fan, and I got their full discography a long time ago. They haven't released a lot since then. I don't know if they're still active, but listen, I like it. It's one of my favorite labels to go to listen to, especially not being a noise label. You know, there are a lot of noise labels that I, of course, listen to more, but it's crazy for me to have something that doesn't really have too much at all to do with noise. And sure, I'm sure they have some noise releases on there. It was just kind of one of these, a rock label with amateur stuff on it that was cheap productions. And there's a lot of cool stuff. I'm sure I could go through more of stuff that I've been through the years that I like from that label. But I got it, probably 2020, 2021 when I got their discography, and there was a lot of interesting. I've gone back to it several times for some slight enjoyment. But yeah, these two are from No Rent. No Rent is a record that I believe started in Philadelphia and moved to Richmond, Virginia, right here where I am, and Jim Day Upholsterer and Military Position. I have got cassettes from them before. I don't remember which ones I got, but I was buying cassettes from them, and I also bought the full discography. So I threw Jim Day Upholsterer and Military Position, which are two of the greatest releases on there, but they have No Rent has so many good releases. Vanessa Rossetto, okay, the Rita, and Jason Krumer. Jason Krumer and Vanessa Rossetto were two of the noise artists that blew my mind. And also, you're going back in time a little bit. This is one of the earlier noise labels, and something I'm not used to. Famous noise artists, popular noise artists, some of the biggest noise artists, especially something like Jim Day Upholsterer. There's not a whole lot of consistency, grinding sound, but it leans a little bit toward something like electroacoustic music. It was very good. I also had listened to Headband the Mask, which was good, but it doesn't come anywhere near to Jim Day, to Pool, which is these are from 2015 and 2017. I should say, when I was a kid, I used to make cassette tapes and put all this punk rock 7-inches that I had, and I would put them on a cassette tape so that I could take my punk rock tapes and listen to them, or take my punk rock 7-inches and listen to them on the school bus. So I made these cassettes, and I would put on the cover a guy with a suit on, and he had a pumpkin head, a jack-o'-lantern ham. His name was Jack Bootleg, and he was checking his watch, and it said the 9 to 5 compilation. I was making my own little compilations that I could take with me and go to school and listen to cassette tapes on the way. And the record label's name was Ivan's Shitty Bootlegs, and I decided to drop the foul language and my name from it, and call it 9 to 5 Bootlegs instead of the 9 to 5 compilation on Ivan's Shitty Bootlegs. Now it's just called 9 to 5 Bootlegs. All cleaned up and fresh for me to, as an adult, continue doing the compilations that I did when I was a kid. Kind Lake Girl is a really great ambient noise artist, but leaning toward kind of indie, maybe ambient a little bit, very musical. And Military Position, this is, I think, a pretty well-documented project a woman's work has never done. Death Industrial is what I'll say. It's a very good Death Industrial release, revolutionary voice samples. Heel Tactics, I don't know how much I talked about the Dirty Heels, but I meant to talk about more indie. And I was going to say, like, everybody likes the Smiths, right? Like, I feel like I like the Smiths like anybody else, right? But I don't seek out to hear the Smiths because I don't want to, like, I know I'm going to hear them. Like, maybe they'll be in the supermarket, they'll be on the radio in the car. So I don't really seek to listen to it, but I know a lot of people love them. I feel like every couple has, like, a little Smiths phase, or every person that's in love starts listening to the Smiths because they want to, soften themselves up. I can't listen to death metal anymore. I'm a new man. But again, there's too much. It's just too much with the Smiths. I get tired of it. And maybe that's because I spent time in high school or whatever listening to a lot of the Smiths. But I also had a cassette tape that I got in high school from like a Vinyl Conflict $5 mystery pack. The House Martins. No, that's what I call quite good. And, I listened to that several times, and it appealed quite a bit, and I went back to listening to it while I was working and things like that. And this was, it's quite a bit more energetic, I don't know. I also remember the Temptators, which were, like, just had a little bit of that classic feel. It's like a combination of butter tones. They're taking something between indie and there's something that they're doing. I don't know. It really is indie influenced, but they'll dress themselves up like they're a 50s band or a 60s, rock and roll band like Buddy Holly or something like that. And I would prefer that to even, it's the things with interesting guitar parts. There's a lot of stuff that's overplayed, You hate that you ever listened to it because, like, if I was just finding out about it, it would be nice, but it's like, we've already had our phase with this. We're done. Please, let's listen to something new. But, listen, music is music, and everybody has to have their phase with it. If you're the guy that listens to everything, eventually, everything that comes across, Audio Tree or KEXP, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt, because when those bands blow up, which they're about to if they're going on those platforms, you're going to listen to it 25 times, I'm sure, and then they start playing music and they start catching on, and you're hearing them on the radio and everybody's talking about them. That pisses you off because you already knew about it, You don't want to be that guy, so just listen to noise. This is a record I got, or a CD I got, Cub. This is Jangle Pop. The Day I Said Goodbye, and The Potato Man. This is not good. I didn't like it, really. I didn't feel that it was worth listening to. If you like Jangle Pop and you're looking for something, give it a shot, but it didn't really work out too well for me. As far as indie pop goes, I'm a big Belle and Sebastian guy. I can't help it. The Tennis and Belle and Sebastian are two kind of indie bands that I saw live, and pop bands that I saw live. And you had always thought of it as being kind of serene and maybe a little bit more just groovy and vibey, and tone and timbre play such a big role, and atmosphere plays such a big role in pop music today. You think it's going to be maybe uncomfortable. It's got like a little bit of a sexy mood, so you don't want to be really standing in a room full of sweaty people watching the band. But they have a lot more energy, right? When you see those bands live, they play the right songs, and they know how to do it. They make it fun. It's not going to be like bedroom music, like it is sometimes. And I'll say this: if you are listening to bedroom music by yourself, or even indie pop by yourself, you're creepy. Okay. All right, and am I guilty of that? I'm sure I've done it in the past, but I'm going to stop doing it, okay? My indie pop listing ends here. Let's talk about noise. I hit you with a lot of noise recommendations already. But did you see how I, weaved them in? You know what I mean? I wasn't, consistent. Yeah, bro. Static Terrain, Kubatu Asparagus. Did I say this? An Avalanche Harsh Noise Wall. He has a really great record called Pitch Black Winter, and that was a really nice pressurized wall. He also has one of those kind of sound collage releases with Hal McGee. I don't know if I talked about this in the last one, but Saturated World. That was very good. Piss Corpse, Precipice of Death. It's a really good release, taking influence from slam, brutal death metal, and power violence. It's just a power violence release that stands out. If you like to listen to that stuff, you need to have Piss Corpse on your radar. Rue, Sprig of Rue. I want to say Rites of Spring. Rites of Spring is good if you want to listen to that. Grindcore and emo violence. This is a 2025 release, so I'm late to the party. But it's female fronted, so I got to be honest, I'm not as big of a fan of the vocals with this. It doesn't completely. I went 3.5 on it. It's good in some regard, but it's not the same as like top tier grindcore or emo violence. I could skip it, but really good instrumentation, and it gets better as you listen to it. So give it a chance, give it a shot. Yeah, I'm sorry, I hate myself. I didn't think of enough good indie pop. Actually, no, I got other indie pop recommendations. I have more. House Martins. Remember the House Martins? Listen to the House Martins. They're good. Oh, Beautiful People by Roanoke is a really great record. I remember I recommended that, though, before Bandcamp Friday. And I think I must have got it for Name Your Price. Xenix is pretty good. It's not like top tier or anything because it's not a full band. I think it's just one guy making it. Pretty good. If you want some really bad folk music, Seasonal Menswear and Cauliflower Acid Bob is a really good one. The Bound Man by Valvan, that's one I've covered in Noise with Ivan, and I've come back to that recently. It's very good. Easy Masks by Black Hole Kids is a really good kind of emo record. Oh, Hiatus EP by the Dramatic Lovers is good. That's a pretty great release. The Human Hands self-titled LP is Name Your Price on Bandcamp. I don't know if I've mentioned that enough. So anyway, get Not of the Flesh CDs, but also there's plenty to get that's really cheap on Bandcamp. Get the Carbon Sun discography. Get the, I don't know, if you have a cheap full discography, this full discography that's less than $5 on Bandcamp, let us know in the comments. We'll all get your full discographies. Anyway, I got a few things to do. I thank you for showing up for Noise with Ivan. I appreciate you listening to the music. I'm sure we'll have another project, but not right now. If you're not familiar with Handwritten Letters, Man Hates God, and Portraits of Cain, Handwritten Letters and Man Hates God are streamable on all platforms like Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, Amazon, things like that. YouTube, check them out on YouTube. If you're on YouTube already, like you are, go to my channel, listen to my music. Thank you so much for listening to it. And if you want CDs from a handful of artists, notoflesh.bandcamp.com. Have a happy Bandcamp Friday. Support all your favorite artists. And Godspeed.